Okay, this is my version of another traditional pattern. I haven't fished it for years, but I was fishing with two guys the other day at Diva Springs and they mentioned this fly, a Montana. So I'm doing my version of a Montana. So what have I got in the... I've got a Amazon B200 with lead running all the way along the length of the hook and a 3.5 Charteris tungsten bead. Reason I have gaps in the lead, because when I glue it, I find it bonds it to the hook better. Okay, so we are going to wind some olive thread up the hook. We're just going to tighten that in the vise a bit more. There we go. That's better, it doesn't move around so much now. Okay, so I'm running the olive thread all the way up the body. A couple of winds of thread behind the lead, and then bring the thread back to opposite the point of the hook. So this is my version of a Montana. Like I say, I haven't fished this fly for years, and I decided to do a video on it only because these guys mentioned it the other day. So we've got some black marabou. I'm just going to wet it. Cut off the main stem. And then pinch and loop so it's on top of the hook. Now, I've always thought Montana as a very short-tailed fly. So what I very rarely do this, but I cut the marabou on this one. There we go. Right, for the black part of the body, I've got this peacock dub green and black. It's got a little bit of twinkle in it. Okay, and so what we're going to do first is just going to run the glue stick up a thread. And we're going to work along the body. I'm not putting a rib on this fly. I've always thought of Montana as having a plain black body. So that's the body of a fly. So, what about the green part? Well, we've got the green bead, but also I've got some of this Charteris chenille, cactus chenille. I think it's a 4 mil cactus chenille. Underneath the thread, a couple of turns to secure it. And just cut the little tag end off. Then I'm going to wind that around the hook just to create the collar. And this is how I've always thought of couple of turns. You can use black or olive thread for this. I've used olive this time, but quite often I use black. I've got a plain black hackle. This is my version of Montana. I'm going to fish this probably on a floating line. I'm fishing at a place called Coltsford Mill in a day's time. So I'm going to fish this on a floating line and let it sink a little bit. And I think because it's got such a strong profile, this fly, in the coloured water, it will work very well. And now we're just going to put the hackle, a couple of turns. Track the end of the hackle. Now I'm just going to wet my fingers, pull it back. Just a couple more turns just behind the bead. And then, as always, I finish my thighs with 3 half hitches. Nothing fancy. You don't need all these fancy knots. There we go. That is my version of a Montana.